I'd argue, at least speaking from like kind of a biblical perspective, if you are disciplined, quote unquote, to pursue some selfish end, you don't actually have self-control. You've already failed the first big self-control test, and that is the ability to put your own desires aside.
Hey everybody, Mike Erre here. So glad you are tuning in. Thank you for spending some time with us. Welcome to the Vox Podcast. I am here with a very special guest all the way from Portland, Oregon. What's the temperature, Drew? What is the temperature out there
today?
today?
It's like a balmy 50 degrees, and it's actually sunny. We have this thing in the Northwest called breakthrough sunshine. Like where you get like 3 minutes of sun and everyone goes outside and just
soaks it in. I know. Listen, and I think the only place more depressing maybe than that is Columbus, Ohio, where it is a brisk 17 degrees heading to -6. So we're very excited about that. The polar vortex, bro. It's a thing.
It's coming down from the Arctic.
I used to when I was in California, I used to mock them about El Nino, and then I discovered no, that's a real thing. And I'm doing the same, learning the same lesson with polar vortex. Now, Drew, I want to introduce our audience to you. And your last name is spelled D-Y-C-K,
That's right.
And pronounced Dick, evidently, which I just learned because I'd pronounced it something else all these years that I've been following you. And you have a great photographer. As I'm looking at you now live on the video chat and looking at a picture on the back of your book, I need that. I need that as well. Now, Drew.
Here's the thing. I got a newborn child. Okay, so I'm not getting my beauty sleep. I think that's
really?
the problem. Yeah.
First, second, third.
This is a third, and she was a surprise, and we're delighted that she's here. But I'm not sleeping, so that's the problem.
That's
I
the
used
problem.
to look like Brad Pitt before I had kids.
Well, it can't be that much of a surprise because I mean, you could stop having sex. I mean, let's just put it out there. You know what I'm saying? It's like.
Yeah, we figured out now where they come from. So
perfect. You are an editor. You used to. So one of my favorite magazines when I was early on in my little pastoral career was Leadership Journal, and
yes.
you ran that thing for years, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And then
for 6 or 7 years.
Yes, and that was that was a super helpful time for many of us who were wrestling as the church started to evolve and change and culture was moving rapidly. That was a pretty amazing thing. And now you're an editor at Moody.
That's right.
Is that true?
Yes, that is true. The rumors are true.
So you edit, you just read manuscripts and edit them. Is
exactly.
that what that
I'm
means?
an acquisitions editor. So if you got a hot idea for a book.
I do.
Let's draft up the contract right here. Yeah, so I evaluate ideas, kind of help authors refine them. Then I do like kind of a edit of the manuscript, but not terribly deep because then that goes to another guy.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So you just wrote a book called Your Future Self Will Thank You, Secrets to Self-Control from the Bible and Brain Science, a guide for sinners, quitters, and procrastinators, which last time I checked means every single one of us.
Right.
I just obviously finished it. Really good. My past self really needed this because my present self would be about 6'3" and 185 right now had I read it. It's about self-control, which
right.
I think the least needed chapter in the book was why do we need self-control?
Right.
I think we all know that. But you tie self-control into freedom in a very interesting way. So when I hate when interviewers quote the author back to the author, but you talk about you can say that was a really good point. A loss of self-control equals a loss of freedom. So two questions. First, define what you mean by self-control. Is that just delayed gratification or is it something more? And then secondly, it sounds like one of those statements that Jesus would say, if you want to save your life, you have to lose it. So like I always think of self-control as losing freedom or delaying freedom, or I don't think of self-control as leading to freedom. So go if you would and unpack that.
Yeah, well, first of all, about the definition, that's a good question because I think there are a lot of things that come to mind when you say self-control. What I was working from was basically this. doing what's right even when you don't feel like it. So that's kind of broad.
I hate that definition.
Right. It's hard.
Hate that definition.
It's hard. And here's the thing. You're right. Like, it's sort of counterintuitive, though, like about the freedom part, right?
Yes.
Man, if you're, and here's the other thing. I think actually self-control kind of has a bad reputation in our culture.
For sure.
People think like, oh, that's boring. Really, you should be about self-expression or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, my point is that actually, rather than being confining and repressive and boring, it's actually something that enables you to live a life of freedom and flourishing eventually. So in the short term, right? Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt a little bit in the short term. Discipline always. So take, I don't know, like spending money. So you can go and have a blast and rack up your credit card, and it'll feel good and you'll feel free in the moment. But of course, you know where that goes, right? Where you get the high interest, the high APR, and all of a sudden you're very confined because your financial situation sucks, basically, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, and it applies to all areas of life: spiritual, physical, exercise, you name it, eating.
Could we not? I don't want to use those examples, Drew. Could we just talk about the money? Yeah, the money part. No.
Yes. Okay.
So the paradox is that freedom, that self-expression, if unguided and unhindered, leads to slavery, and self-control leads to freedom down the road, and a kind of flourishing. What sort of evidence do you have sort of to back that up? I mean, that's one of those things where you look at our culture and you're like, I think everyone would say, yeah, we need more self-control. I need more self-control. But the message of our culture seems to be, as you said, self-expression. And I met an Olympic gymnast once at a church I was preaching at, and I told her my daughter loved gymnastics, and she had the greatest line. Drew, she just looked at me, and it was like a habit, like we'll talk about in a second. She just said, believe in yourself. Tell her to believe in yourself and follow your dreams. And that has always stuck with me as the perfect encapsulation of the social media Disney worldview.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And what you're arguing for strikes at the heart of that, I think. So spend a little time, if you would, talking about how that paradox works itself out, and how it plays into this, very tricky statement of Jesus about, if you want to save your life, you must lose it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I don't want to be the anti-Disney guy, but
no, I mean,
that's a tough platform to sell. No, but you're right. It's like, and I wouldn't bash like categorically on self-expression, because if you have something good to say, I mean, yeah, go for it, right?
Yeah, of course.
But it is interesting because you look at every narrative that we tell, at least it seems like in contemporary times, whether it's reality TV, plot lines, or movies, what have you, it's essentially someone going, you know what, I have this deep down beautiful thing that I need to unleash upon the world. And my success in doing that is just kind of standing against everyone around me and pursuing my dream, no matter what the cost, right? And that's sometimes that can be an okay plot line, but I think a lot of people have kind of run with that, and the pendulum has swung too far, where it's like, gratify every desire you have, follow every passion. And of course, not every desire and passion that we have crop up in our life actually is ultimately good for you, good for others, good for the world. And so we need to be kind of critical about looking at, okay, what are our desires? And then finding desires that are like ultimately important and healthy, and then delaying gratification in pursuit of those, if that makes sense.
Got it. Yes. Yeah. But that's, of course, the tricky part. So you take sexuality, and we've had a number of gentlemen on our show who identify as gay and are pursuing celibacy as a part of their discipleship of Jesus. And so our culture would look at them and say, oh my goodness, they're missing out. They are, that you cannot live a fulfilled life unless you are sexually fulfilled also. And so they stand out as these, from both sides. They identify as gay, so conservatives have trouble with them. And they practice celibacy, so progressives, have some concerns with them.
Sure.
When you get to the heart of the worldview, how do you know which guiding desires are the ones you need to run with? In other words, because you do say something around this line, it was about biblical self-control is keeping our loves in the right order.
Yeah.
So that kind of strikes it a bit, what you're talking about. What does that mean?
Yeah. And I'm borrowing language from Augustine, a fourth century
No,
philosopher.
no,
I know. Sorry, getting
no.
all nerdy here.
He may have borrowed it from you. We don't know.
Right. We don't know. And he's not around to object if I take credit, right?
Exactly.
So I could run with it. Okay, never mind. I came up with this idea the other day about disordered loves. Anyway, yeah. So basically he says, if you get your loves in the wrong order, let's take an example. Say you love shiny cars and material things more than people, right? He'd say your loves are out of order. You should prioritize people and relationships above material possessions. And we've known these guys, right? Who like obsessed with their I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And that messes their life up, right? Because they get this unhealthy attachment to things. They use people in order to get more money, say, or material possessions, and it screws everything up. As a Christian, of course, I put God at kind of the top spot, and I think of, okay, what does God really want for me? That's why I'm serious about the Bible. I think of what is like my life's decisions and my actions. Are they going to benefit others? Are they going to result in others feeling better about themselves and actually helping them flourish? And then I think about myself. So if you get those out of order, I feel like even if you develop this ninja level discipline in your life, you're just going to be a jerk, right? We've all known those people. It's like, man, I've got the steamboat ambition and I'm just going to like be the CEO of this corporation. I'm going to run over people to do it. Well, that's not self-control, at least not biblically speaking, which is about denying yourself for the sake of others. But of course, here's the paradox. And this is what I think you touched on with what Jesus said about, whoever loves his life loses it. By dying, you truly live, all these kind of weird, beautiful paradoxes. There's a similar dynamic here, because when you put God first, when you put others in front of yourself, it ends up being the best thing for you, right? If you put yourself first, man, preach. You're miserable. If you put yourself first, those are the most miserable people on the planet. And people that no one wants to be around, right? Even if they're amazing at whatever they do. So that's the first thing. It's just getting your priorities straight. Because if you start working on your disciplines and your habits and your willpower, that's all great. But man, it's got to be directed towards something that's ultimately important.
So what happens if you flip them? So not only a jerk. So let's say I'm pursuing happiness, comfort, pleasure, whatever. One of the things you argue is that then you don't get those things if they become ultimate.
Isn't that true? I think anyone who's lived long enough can attest to that. Like if you aim at happiness and you're like, all I want to do is like maximize my pleasure. Well, you can only sit on a beach sipping margaritas for so long. Or
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't tried that, actually. The jury's still out on that one, right?
Yes.
If all you live for is pleasure, you're going to be miserable. That's what the Epicureans found in ancient Greece. It's like, okay, you can't do that. It doesn't work. So yeah, some of this is just kind of common sense, life wisdom, and a lot of it's from Scripture. So that's the first thing. Before you even start trying to develop your discipline, man, you got to be doing it for the right reasons. It can't just be to.
No, go. That's good.
Yeah. No, it just can't be to, I don't know, whatever, look down on other people or think that you're the best or make a ton of money and lavish it on yourself or something like that. I'd say the first thing you got to do is align your priorities with what's ultimately important.
Okay. And that's why then you argue that the first step of self-control is surrender. Right. It's not control, which I got to be honest. I mean, that I dog-eared that one and I was like, okay, that's super interesting to me. So the surrendering would be, in very practical terms, the putting forward or putting ahead of myself, God and others.
Right.
And
in any moment, any particular moment when you're facing a temptation or you want to gratify a certain desire, it's putting aside your selfish interests, right? This is where the surrender comes in. And going, okay, God, what would you want me to do in this situation? What would be best for my child, my spouse, my neighbor?
Right.
And that's surrender, right? Because you're obviously not putting number one, that is yourself, first in those circumstances. You're putting yourself aside momentarily in order to serve others. And like I said, though, paradoxically, again, that ends up being what is ultimately most gratifying, ultimately most fulfilling for you. So, yeah.
So so if I'm hearing you right, in a sense, like there are loads of disciplined people, but if you're disciplined for the wrong reason or towards the wrong end, you're still going to be, you haven't found the freedom we're talking about, right? There's a deeper thing that's still out there for you, which is the abandonment of self. and in pursuit of God and others, correct?
That's exactly right. And I would argue, at least speaking from like kind of a biblical perspective, if you are disciplined, quote unquote, to pursue some selfish end, you don't actually have self-control. You've already failed the first big self-control test, and that is the ability to put your own desires aside.
Oh, nice. I get that. Because I got to be honest, I'm dieting right now just to be foxy. I'm tired. I'm tired of being roly-poly guy. I want to be foxy again. And so you're telling me that's wrong, but okay.
Well, no, about the weight loss, it was great because this is something I'm such a yo-yo dieter. I've been on all kinds of diets and don't even get me started. Anyway, and I always proclaim the diet starts tomorrow as I'm eating some big meal. I almost called the book that, actually, the diet starts tomorrow.
Oh, that would have been great.
That would have been pretty good, but then everyone would think it's a dieting book, which it isn't.
Right.
But one thing that I stumbled across in my research was what researchers, and this isn't like Christian researchers, just general sociologists, call sanctified goals, right? So it's this idea that, say you want to lose weight, and say your motivation is, I want to fit into those old jeans, or I want to look good in the mirror. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's ineffective. If you can have a sanctified goal, that is, if you can attach some ultimate significance to that mundane, everyday goal, you'll have greater success. So if you're dieting and you're going, you know what, I'm not going to think about, how good I'm going to look when I'm lighter. What I'm going to think about is, I want to be here for my kids. I want to see them grow up. I see, my body as a gift from God, and I want to honor that gift and to pursue the calling that he has on my life. You're going to actually have, I would argue that's not only more biblical, but you're going to have greater success in pursuing those goals if that's your motivation, as opposed to just looking a little better in the mirror.
Damn you.
Sorry.
Speaking of sanctified goals, what's your view of Coors Light? I mean, just in general.
Biblically speaking, an abomination.
No.
Man, I live in the Northwest, dude. This is we got all the craft snobby.
But you didn't always. You were in Chicago for a while, right?
I know, but I've changed. Okay. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so these are like, how in lie detector tests they give you baseline questions? So these are baseline wisdom questions. Okay, just how much can we trust you? Because you live in the yes. Because you live in the Northwest, who's your favorite 90s grunge band?
Ooh, well, I'm gonna say Nirvana, but I don't know the scene well enough. But I mean, Kurt Cobain with those long golden locks thrashing around, that's pretty cool.
Okay. We're 0 for 2. And then, no, I don't know. For some reason, I just always love asking those dumb questions. All right. Because you haven't been asked that in this round of podcast interviews, have you?
No, I don't think I've been asked most of these questions.
Oh, really?
No grunge band or Coors Light or anything. So this is all new territory for me.
Well, just those two or the whole interview? Because I frankly think our interview is going incredibly well.
Well, thank you. I think it's good to stop and kind of take stock of how it's going in the middle and congratulate ourselves.
Well, yeah. Now, let me switch. So if that's kind of the foundation, is self-control the same as willpower? Does self-control require willpower? I mean, so I would tend to think of those synonymously.
Right. Yes. And there's synonyms in the popular kind of language, and they're certainly related. The way I was dealing with it, and I think actually most researchers talk about it, is willpower. You need willpower for self-control, right? Willpower, strictly humanly speaking, is the energy needed to exercise self-control, right? Okay. And you've read the books, you know this, so forgive me for repeating it, but one of the really big aha moments I had early on researching this topic was finding these experiments like 20 years ago where they found out that willpower is a finite resource. And all that means is it's exhaustible. It runs out, and it runs out very quickly. And that was like, man, it made so much sense to me because I was thinking of my New Year's resolutions, right? I set like 5-6 New Year's resolutions.
Yep.
I'm going to conquer the world. I'm going to be amazing. Then like 2 days into January, they're gone. It's like, and I realized what I did. I came into, the new year with this limited little pool of willpower, and I tried to change major behavioral patterns in my life all at once. All these big, each one of them would draw down my willpower, so that it's just decimated immediately, and then I don't have any success in any of those areas. Does that make sense?
Oh, so, dude, totally.
That was huge. Just realizing, man, willpower is limited. Use it wisely.
That is huge. No, that's big. I mean, because I found like if I don't exercise in the morning, it's not going to happen. I could tell myself I'm going to do it later, but I'll never do it. My willpower is almost strongest. Like the first thing I do that day is when willpower feels strongest, and then it depletes. It seems as you go on. Is that what the research shows?
The only willpower you have left at the end of the day is to like binge on Netflix or something, right? It's like
correct. I will to lay on this couch right now and deny myself the floor or whatever. So why, if we know that, why isn't knowing that enough? I mean, why? So okay, great. We have research on willpower. Does that automatically translate into research, or does researching willpower translate into more?
Yeah, not necessarily. It helps, and actually, it's interesting. There have been studies looking at just like educating people on willpower and habits, and then what does that do? And it actually does increase their good behavior, but it's not foolproof because, as you know, I'm sure, you can have all the knowledge in your head, right, about what you should do. I think all of us, it's so funny because there's always the latest diet, the latest exercise regimen, you name it. I think all of us know carbs are bad, sugar's bad, eating too many calories is bad, exercise is good. For me, reading the Bible is healthy. We know all this stuff. It's not that we need more information. It's that we actually need to change our behavior. Now, It does go a little ways towards doing that, though, because once you realize you have limited willpower, I've had the same sort of aha moment as you. It's like, oh man, if I have something really difficult or tempting or something like that, I need to kind of pack that in earlier in the day. Forever, I was trying to write, and writing's really hard for me. And I was trying to do it at like 4 o'clock every day once I was done with my day job. Good luck, right? I just sat there looking at a blank screen. Like, I got nothing left because I've been meetings all day and editing manuscripts and whatever. And the willpower's gone. You're done. And so I switched it to earlier in the morning and had a lot more success. So kind of strategic moves like that. The other good news about willpower is it can grow, right?
Ooh, no, that's big.
Yeah, exactly. So as you do things that are hard, whether it's exercise or even there have been studies showing that people that use their non-dominant hand, like their left hand for brushing their teeth, they'll find that their willpower actually grows just from doing something that's uncomfortable and a little weird like that. So it can grow. That's good news too.
Right. So bad news is it's finite. Good news, it can grow. Is it ever going to be enough?
No.
Is willpower alone ever going to be enough? Okay. So why not?
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's
bad news. That's bad news number 2.
That's bad news number 2. Exactly. So it's finite. It can grow, but a little bit. It's sort of like muscle, right? You can exercise, but eventually your muscles get tired, and our willpower gives out remarkably quickly, even when we're able to grow it a little bit, which helps. And this is where habits come in, right?
Yes.
I know you're going there, so I'm going to jump the gun. Your thunder. They're huge and what I mean by habits, simple definition, those automatic routines you have in your life. They can be good or bad, right? I don't know, maybe brushing your teeth in the morning is a habit, hopefully. Driving is a habit. It's something you do without thinking. It doesn't actually require a lot of thought. You don't exert a lot of effort.
Right. And
Driving, exactly. Or like the guy who runs 5 miles every morning. That's not me. But the dude who wakes up and cranks out 5 miles, he's not sitting there psyching himself up, slapping himself in the face, going, I got to do this. Come on. No, it's just automatic, right? It's a habit. So what you need to be able to do is use that limited willpower to initiate new healthy habits in your life so that those good behaviors can kind of be on autopilot, right? And that actually frees up your willpower for other tasks.
Okay. So let me go backward one step and say, how do you grow willpower? So you use the example of brushing your teeth. So doing something small and uncomfortable increases willpower. What are other things? Oh,
it can be a variety of things, like learning a new language, especially something that stretches you in a new way, right? Not just something you're really good at and you do it a little more, but things that actually require you to do a new behavior. And just not shying away from hard things because you get used to it, right? You kind of, and as you do it more. And then here's another thing. There are these things that researchers call keystone habits. So these are habits that not only are good in and of themselves, but they actually make you more self-controlled in all the other areas of your life. So
yes. So they're like dominoes.
Yeah, exactly. Like dominoes, they have this synergistic, to use a cheesy word, synergistic effect, positive effect in your life. So exercise is one. They know people who exercise every morning, then when it comes to like making a healthy food choice later, they're going to do it. When it comes to not snapping at their kids, all these other areas of your life are positively affected. Prayer is the same way. So much so that I read this article in the New York Times about this atheist who's like, oh man, maybe I should start praying and going to church, because this religious activity has this incredibly positive effect on willpower and on improving your behavior. Those are powerful tools. And it's not that, you do them for the intrinsic value, especially for me as a Christian. I'm like, I want to commune with my Creator, right? But at the same time, it also has other benefits that apply to other areas of life. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you start a habit? How do you replace a habit? How do you, because you talked about New Year's resolution. So here's my 5 things I'm going to do differently. Willpower gets depleted. I fail. And when I fail, I feel bad about myself. And when I feel bad about myself, I turn to something usually that's not incredibly healthy. That's just hypothetical. I don't know, personally, I have no experience with any of that. So how do habits work, and how do you replace old ones with new ones?
Yeah. And you're exactly right. You want to replace them. It's almost, Charles Duhigg, who wrote a book on habits, he says it's almost impossible to start a habit out of thin air. It's far more effective to replace a bad habit with a good one. So I don't know, say your habit is smoking, right? We can all agree it's a bad habit. It's dangerous. It's whatever. It makes you smell funny. And so say your habit is smoking. You go out every morning, right? And you smoke a cigarette. Well, you might want to go, you know what? Instead of going out in the morning and smoking a cigarette, I'm going to go for a jog. That's a good thing, right? So, and then you got to break it down. There are actually 3 parts to a habit. There's the cue. That's the trigger, the thing that makes you start the routine. Then there's the routine, which is the actual behavior. And then there's a reward at the end. You do things for a reason, right? You get a little reward. Maybe it's just a dopamine hit, whatever. But, and so when you look at that habit loop is what it's called, you want to kind of do surgery on it. So back to our example about the runner and the smoker, instead, the cue is stepping outside. Maybe all of a sudden, oh man, you start craving a cigarette. But now you're going to step outside and you're going to go, this is my cue to go for a run, right? And then before, when you're smoking, maybe it's the nicotine hitting your bloodstream. That's the reward. But instead, now it's going to be the endorphins that are released when you run. You know what I mean? So you got the same cue, different behavior, similar reward, and then it's pretty easy to cement that in place. The other thing is, and I've alluded to it already, when I did New Year's resolutions, the biggest problem with New Year's resolutions is that they're plural, right? Because you're doing all these at the same time and you exhaust your willpower. So you want to be very modest. And I know it's counterintuitive, because when you want to change, you're like, that's it, I'm going to change everything. I'm going to earn twice as much money, and I'm going to be healthy, and I'm going to be spiritual, and I'm going to be all this stuff. But that actually is what ends up sabotaging you. So you want to be really incremental about things. And it can feel silly. Like for people that haven't exercised at all, don't try to go out and run 5 miles, because you'll kill yourself. You'll be sore. You'll deplete your willpower, and you won't do it again. Like go walk around the block once and then come home and give yourself a bite of chocolate. To reward it, right? Just to cement it in. And then if you do that every day, pretty soon, all of a sudden, you're walking a couple blocks and now you're running, and you build up to it. And the critical thing is to kind of persevere through that 1 or 2 month window so the habit can cement into place. And then you're getting somewhere.
So you're spending your finite willpower on the relationship between the cue and the behavior, right? Because a lot of the behaviors now are subconscious. That's why they're habits. I open the fridge, I see ice cream, I pull out a bowl, right? There's no thought, there's no deliberation, there's just boom, it happens automatically. Yeah. So in that example, I want to open the fridge, see the ice cream, and do what? Pick up broccoli? Come on, Drew. Come on.
Yeah, and it's not going to be nearly as rewarding when you eat broccoli, right? Yeah, well, and actually in those cases, man, it's probably best to get the ice cream out of the house altogether, or you will default to those old habits regardless. So, man, I'm serious. I'll go to restaurants, and I swear, I go in, and I'm like, I'm ordering a salad with grilled chicken or some nonsense, okay? So, and the waiter will be coming around to me, And all of a sudden I'm like, bacon cheeseburger, please. And it's because it's a habit. I've done it so many times at this particular restaurant, and that's what I order. I'm like, holy cow, did I just say that out loud? And it's like, yeah, it's powerful, man. And if you're, so in cases like that, you got to kind of break it up altogether. It's like the ice cream's got to be out of the house. Don't go to that restaurant. You name it. I mean,
so let me ask you this. So where does the biblical concept of sin come in? In the sense of, I'm never, no matter how hard I try, right? The Christian gospel is, or the Christian message is, okay, I cannot rescue myself. It is God's grace that rescues me. So it's a gift. It's freely. I don't merit it. I don't earn it. So now I have potential for passivity in two directions, right? One is, hey, I'm a sinner, dude. And no matter how hard I try, I'm always going to be a sinner. Or I guess you could or this one. It's all God's grace. I'm just going to wait for God to change me, right? That's how it works.
Right.
So first question, where does sin fit in? If I'm growing in self-control, okay. I mean, is that just what Paul means when he talks about being in the flesh? Is that legalism? You see where I'm fishing.
And this is a huge question. Like for Christians, this is a big question, right? Because we're like, how does this all work?
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, the first thing to say is, I don't think, you may disagree, I don't think every self-control failure constitutes a sin necessarily.
Okay, first of all, who's the expert here? I'm not going to disagree with you.
You're the
Drew.
pastor, dude.
No way. No
Come
way.
on, man.
No way.
You pray for me to open this. I love it.
So not every failure of self-control is sin.
And let me give you an example. Okay, like if you sit there and someone offers you a cookie or kale, and you choose the cookie, it doesn't mean you sinned. I think it just means your taste buds are working, right? It's like, come on. Now, if you eat a whole bag of cookies, which I've
right,
then you're kind of flirting with gluttony, right? So there's a blurry boundary with some of these things, but I wouldn't want to say every self-control failure is sin. Certainly some of them are. And then when it comes, you're right. Like that's the beauty of the Christian gospel, right? Is that God doesn't come and go, hey, listen, are you good enough to be on my team? No, you better work a little harder, and then we'll let you on. It's like, no, it doesn't matter how bad you are. You're saved by the grace of God. You're in God's family. And it's all free, and it's not based on your merit, like you said. That is absolutely true. And that's what the clunky theological term for that, of course, is salvation, right? But then there's a whole other thing called sanctification, another $10 theological word, as you know, that refers to the process by which you become more mature spiritually every year. And that, I mean, there are some dudes who are like, man, I came to Jesus and bang, I was like, never drank another drop, and I was an alcoholic. Right. I never did this, and I'm amazing, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't want to hear it because it didn't happen that way for me, right? So it's a little more slow and halting, and that's the case for most of us. And that's where self-control comes in, right? Because you're not going to be perfect. I don't believe that. There's some people that are crazy, I think, that say, oh, no, I'm going to arrive at perfection. I think you're right. But that's not to say you can't get a little better every year, be less of a selfish jerk, curb these destructive behaviors in your life. Look a little more like Jesus with every passing year. That's the goal. And self-control is a huge, huge part of that.
Right. So it's listed as one of the products of what the Holy Spirit does.
Exactly.
But then so the Christian phrase is fruit of the Spirit. And it's this big long list that has self-control at the end. But if that's what the Holy Spirit does in me, then why not just wait for it to happen?
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because in church history, there have been whole movements that are defined by that belief. Anyway, and maybe a popular recent expression of that would be the let go and let God kind of thing, right? It's kind of cliche, or Jesus take the wheel. It's like, I'm just going to let go. Jesus take the wheel. It sounds beautiful. I mean, like I can just get to sit in the back seat while Jesus is hitting the gas and steering the vehicle. Unfortunately, you open up your Bible and you're like, oh crap, it's not like that at all. Okay, so the Bible portrays a more complex sort of scenario by which you are exerting effort. You're trying to live this life that pleases God and serves other people. And at the same time, God's Spirit is coming alongside you and empowering you to live that life. And you're right, you referenced the Galatians passage in Scripture about Paul calling it a fruit of the Spirit. So in other words, like he's using an analogy there in the same way that a plant has to be connected to the soil in order to grow fruit, we have to be connected to God, and then we see this fruit develop in our lives.
But it doesn't happen automatically, is what
Exactly.
you're saying.
And it doesn't happen without you trying either. That's
Right.
the other thing. And it's so funny to me because here I'm picking on fellow Christians, but if you're in Christian circles and you talk about, man, I'm really trying to live the Christian life, I'm striving, if you use a word like that, people will be like, oh, time out, dude. You're doing it all wrong. What's wrong with you?
Right.
You don't need to strive, just let go and let God.
Right.
And yet the word strive is all throughout Scripture, like striving after godliness. Paul talks about running the
uses
race,
it like crazy.
feeding his body. Yeah, it's like, man, you kind of you do all these extreme things in order to live a godly life. So but it is a complex kind of relationship, and one, frankly, I have not figured out completely.
Well, no, I mean, it's one of those, and you quote Dallas. It's my favorite Dallas quote ever, of many favorites. Dallas Willard was a philosopher and wrote a bunch on the spiritual life. And he said, grace is not opposed to effort. It's opposed to earning, which means that none of us are rescued or made Jesus-like because of how hard we're trying. Yet, when we try towards Jesus-likeness, there is a sense in which we open ourselves up to God's grace that is a multiplying effect. Is that right? It's doing more in us than we could do for ourselves. But we almost have to, by faith, act into that.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Absolutely. I like, I forget who said this now, but it's like you want to strive with the Spirit rather than against the Spirit, right?
Right.
That's kind of the goal. And and Willard's exactly right. I think that's such a clarifying quote about how these things work. I just saw online, someone said, I'm reading Dallas Willard's book and your book together. And I'm like, dude, toss my book in the shredder and read
Put
Dallas
my book down.
Willard. What are you doing?
Oh, totally. All right. So let's just kind of wrap it up with this sort of simple, because one of the things that's good about how you have written this is that you're very practical, because this is very practical stuff, right? I love the theory, but so let's say I am a new follower of Jesus, and I've heard that it's important to me for me to read my Bible every day. What, like from everything you've gathered, what is like short, simple advice that you could give that person?
Yeah. Well, that's a great example, because I could tell my story, and it's embarrassing because I've been a Christian for 30 years, since I was a kid. And I still struggle to read my Bible every day. Especially I know, sorry, this is the end of the interview.
What?
So what I did, this was, I realized, and going back to the bad habit, good habit sort of scenario, I realized every morning I'd roll out of bed and my phone is sitting there, right? And so grab the phone first thing before my eyes are even focused, and I'm on social media, I'm looking at the news. And I realized that, and I'd say, I'll read my Bible later. Yeah, I'll do it this afternoon, this evening. Yeah, right. You know how that goes, right? Especially when you got kids and you got a job and all the rest of it. Yeah. Just never get around to it. And so I said, okay, man, next day I'm going to read my Bible right back to my phone. It's this bad habit. And finally I had to move the phone off my nightstand, put my big black Bible there instead. And so that it's my cue when I roll out of bed. Oh, I want to read some material. There's my Bible. And man, totally. I haven't missed a day, at least this year. It's great. And
nice.
So, and it's not that I'm super spiritual. It's just because I kind of did a little bit of a replacement with that habit.
So things like you tried to replace something. You started small. You didn't try to take on the world.
No, I'm not reading Leviticus every morning or something.
Right. Exactly. For me, and this is way too much information, the bathroom is
awesome.
Is the best. It's just the best thing ever. So I literally just put my Bible right there, and doggone it, it works for me now.
Remind me not to touch your Bible, though, if we ever hang out.
Dude, you cannot pollute God's word, bro.
You're right.
Come on. And of course, I mean, anytime we're talking about self-control, willpower, technology has just wrecked us, right? I mean, you use the example of your phone, and the chapter in the book about, good Lord, I was sitting there going, oh my word, how it shortens our attention spans. It makes it hard for us to engage in spiritual practices because they don't give us the same dopamine hit. I mean, holy cow, we are absolutely sunk.
Yeah, we're just starting to grapple with the implications of it, honestly. I mean, we're just inundated. I forget all the stats. I won't repeat them, but it's like 11 hours a day on average on a screen. We check our phones 150 times a day. We're just tethered to these things, and all the new media that comes at us through social media is pretty intimidating. So there's two ways it affects us. First of all, there's new temptations, right? It's like, looking at porn, buying too much online, you name it, getting into dumb arguments, which I've never done. Right. But then secondly, it's just like you said, it's the distraction. It just changes us at a neurological level where we can't focus deeply. We can't sustain concentration. And some people go, well, who cares? I don't need to concentrate. Well, actually, I mean, you do for various reasons, but for spiritual reasons, absolutely. If you want to be able to pray for any length of time, read scripture, which is a hard, challenging text, let's face it. Yeah. It demands that concentration. So man, putting some healthy boundaries in your life when it comes to tech is huge. And I think we're just starting to realize how important it is.
What's a resource you'd recommend for that? I haven't read Andy's book. Have you read that one, The Tech-Wise Family?
Some of it, and from everything I've seen, it's excellent. So I would wholeheartedly recommend that, just because I know Andy personally, and he's such a wise and savvy
name
dude
dropper
when it comes to this topic. I know.
Sure, of course.
We're BFFs.
This is Andy Crouch, and it's called The Tech-Wise Family. It's been on my list for a while. I didn't know if you'd read it as part of the research or.
I'd also recommend Tony Reinke's book, 12 Ways Your Phone is Changing You. Ooh. I might have that slightly wrong, but that's that's roughly the title. That's a great book. Yeah, and very eye-opening. And
oh my goodness.
And I read that as I was researching for mine. So yeah, there are some. They're starting to get some resources out there, especially looking at it from a spiritual perspective. So I'm grateful for that.
My man, I am so grateful for your time. What manuscript can you say? I don't even know if you can say this. What manuscript were you reading when I called? When you were editing? Anything juicy? Anything good?
Man.
Kirk Cameron's Confession.
Tim Tebow. That's all I read.
Yes.
Tim Tebow books.
Confessions of a Sinner.
I won't announce the title or author because I don't know if that would be weird, but I was reading a really tough book about someone whose kid is diagnosed with leukemia, and he goes through that, and it's like, okay, where's God? Is God still good? Does God still love me? Wrestling through that whole process. And so challenging book, especially when you got little kids, you're like, oh man, I don't want to read this. Yeah. But a good book at the same time. So that's what I've been working on. Yeah. Sorry to end it on that note.
Dang. No, I mean, that's real life. Dang it.
It sure is.
All right. Well, Vox community, I am so grateful for your time. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance to you and give you peace in these days. The book we've been talking about is Your Future Self Will Thank You by Drew Dyck. And you can pray for him by name. Bring his full name before the Lord in prayer if you would. I think he would very much appreciate that.
I would. And keep in mind, I had a tough childhood because of that name. So,
dude, come on. I can't even imagine. I'm so glad though you put the Y in there because you can at least justify a different pronunciation.
Yeah, it used to be apparently a few generations ago. It was Van Dyke, and then some genius decided to shorten it, and I've been living with the consequences.
Dang, Ancestry.com, man. Find out who that is and desecrate their grave. Yeah. All right, my friend. Hey, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, it's been fun. Thanks.
All right, bud.